So, I think we have completed most of the basic things that are needed for the understanding of the common methods that we'll be using in automation testing. Today, our focus would be on understanding the basics of framework. So, what is this framework and why we need that? So, most of the times, if you go to any company or even in interview, right, the very common question is they'll be asking, what is the framework on you have worked on? What is the automation framework you have worked on? So instead of directly going by the definition, right, let us do one thing. Let us divide that into small bits and pieces and let us try to progress and let us try to understand. Okay, so that's the motive behind this session. So assume that. So let me as we do every time, right? Instead of directly going by the definition, first we will see what is the challenge we are facing if you are not using that, and post that we will understand that. Okay, so assume that you are in a situation where you are told to write test cases. You are told to write test cases for 100 5 modules, and in that 5 modules each module has around some 100 test cases. Now if you are not you if I'm telling you to run the test cases, if I'm telling you to run in the order, if I'm trying to telling you only skip these test cases, if I'm telling you to what is that run the test cases only from specific thing. Okay, so simply I am telling you to control the execution of your test cases. Okay, I am telling you to control the execution of your test cases. So in that case, how to do that? How to do that? Say for example, uh, if everyone is using their own naming convention, again that is a problem, right? From day one I am telling that please use small letters for package and use camel casing for a variable name, and also for a method, while starting the method name should be a small letter and it should be capitalized for each of the thing. So that's what we were discussing from past few days, right? All these are nothing but set of rules or set of what is that instructions which are to be followed by everyone. If you're telling that hey, I like this style, I'll go in this. And if someone is telling that hey, I like this, I'm going in this way, that doesn't help anyone. So if everyone is on the common page, it will be easy for us to go and use the automation framework used by them. Used by them. Okay. Okay, cool. So that's what I was talking about. Now let me do one thing. Let me take the problem statement. Today we'll try to understand one very small thing of the framework, part of the automation framework. Let us see that. Okay, let us check it out. Okay, so we have written the six paths, right? uh, we have spoke about action class. Very good. Okay, no, not an issue. So assume that you are working on some automation framework, and you are working on search functionality of Flipkart. Okay, so class name should be a capital letter. Okay, this is something. So search functionality of Flipkart. Now, as part of this, I was telling you to cover the test cases for each and everything. Let me zoom a bit. Okay, so I was telling you to write some test cases for this. Yeah, you have went ahead and you started writing the test cases. So here I'll be taking help for Copilot because it will be easy for me. It will make my work easier. Okay, at the rate of test. So this is one test case to perform the search operation. Let me import the test engine libraries. Just a minute. Okay, and this is just for what is that? voice search, something like that. Okay, in Flipkart, we can assume that we can do some voice search as well. And let me take another example. We can do image search as well. We can do advanced search, like we can apply filters. Okay. And one more. Similarly, you started off writing the test cases, sorting the search. Okay. So every time, what you need to do is you need to launch the browser, right? Web driver is equals to new Chrome driver. Okay. Chrome driver is a class that is you are implementing. Let me import this. So this is not the important thing. So for that reason, I'm just launching that, and you got to know that what is the website you need to do. Flipkart it is, right? Awesome. So this is the Flipkart website. So in the QA environment, the URL will be something like that. Okay. Underscore. It will be like QA, Flipkart QA. So this is the production URL, right? So in that QA environment, it will be different. Whenever you are testing, right, you will be having separate URL for this. So this is a common piece of code which is written. Okay, cool. So you have written these many test cases. You are working happily. Very good. Nice. Mm. So for now, I just written few test cases. Okay. So what we can do is, let me just add few more test cases, because in real time you'll be having some hundreds of test cases, right? So I'll just write this as two. Okay, cool. So you were part of this team, and you have written the test cases, and short and sweet. So all that you are doing is launching the browser, and you are performing writing the code to do that stuff. I'm not writing that code. Okay, so this is a piece of code that is used to search in the Flipkart. So you can write the web elements, you can identify the web elements, and you can start writing the piece of code for that. But now you are just writing some tens of test cases. Now what happened was, after few days or after few months or after few, one second, if someone is not speaking, can you go on mute? Okay, yeah, after few days and after few months, you have written some 500 test cases, and all of a sudden your developer came back to you, and he's telling that, hey, team, I have updated the URL. So due to some reasons, he's telling that I have updated the URL for the QA environment. He's telling that it is not, you got a message from him in the team stating that it is not www.flipkart.com, qa.com. Now it has been updated to, one second, let me, yeah. So he dropped a message stating that, hey, thank you. We have updated the URL as per the norms. It is not readable. So they came up with an idea that it should be underscore QA. So that was a change what they have proposed. Now, every time if there is any change, something like this, if there is any change, something like this, it is difficult for you to go back and update in each and every test case. In each and every test case. Moreover, it's not feasible, and also it is not the standard way of defining the URL. You will never be defining this driver.get URL method in your test case, because if something changes in the URL, you need to come back and you need to update that piece of code in every test case. That is the problem. That is the problem. Hope you understand what I'm trying to tell, right? Just give me a thumbs up if you understood till now. So what's the problem statement? Okay, very good. Awesome. So for that reason, what we will be doing is, Instead of hard coding these values, you will play smart now. You will play smart. Okay. So that is nothing but there is something called properties file. So we will be make using of that property files. Okay. In the property files, you will be defining the browser. You will be defining the browser. Let me do that. Okay. So I have just right clicked on my folder. Okay. Not on the source or not on the main. I repeat, I am clicking on my project path. Okay. Inside this, I am just creating a folder. Okay. So I have created a folder with the name called resources or something like that. RESOUR resources. Okay. So I just created a folder with the name called resources under my project. Okay. Inside this, let me create one file. See guys, what I am creating here. Okay. I am creating a file. So let me repeat it. On this resources, I have just click on this and I'm going on to new and I'm clicking on files. So now if you could see, this got highlighted. It is stating that you are creating some file under this resource folder. Okay. Let me give the name of that file as property. One second. This is property file. And you know, right, there are different types of file types. If it is a text file, it will be .txt. If it is a Excel sheet, it will be .xlx. It will, if it is a Word file, it will be .doc. And if it is a PowerPoint presentation, that file extension would be .ppt. Similarly, this is a properties file, right? You will be having an extension of properties. PRO. Okay, you should write the correct spelling. File name, this name you can write anything, but after dot, the extension should be very correct. So you cannot give any name. You should give the exact format in which it will take. Properties. PROPERTIES. Okay. Properties. So this is the extension. Okay. Properties. So this name you can give anything. Okay. Cool. Now I have successfully created my properties.file. Okay, cool, right? Till here. So what I have done is I have just created a folder with the name called resources. Under that I have created this. So here you can write the values in QA. What is that? QA underscore URL. Okay. So QA URL would be, so instead of writing it here, what I will be doing is I will be writing this here. Okay, cool. So similarly, you will be having UAT URL, right? You will be giving it as UAT URL, right? So Flipkart underscore QA, it is QA URL, and this is your UAT environment. So guys, to those who are new to the testing, right, you will be having different URLs. One is for QA, that is to perform the testing of the application. One is UAT URL, that is to perform the testing by the business users. And another thing is production URL, that is nothing but the URL, URL that is used by the live users. Okay, this is how you can define your property file. So now you have successfully defined these values, right? Now let us see what is the significance of this. So you have created the file and you have written that here. So now you need to make connection to your test cases with this file. Okay, so you now I believe you understood how to create a folder and how to create a property file and what is the extension of the property file. If yes, give a thumbs up, everyone. Mahendra, Ruhi, very good. Now chalo, let us make the connection. Okay, so now what I am doing is I am trying to read this file, right? So first thing is I need to give the path of this where this file is stored. Okay, where this file is stored. Let me right click on this file Let me right click on this file and let me get the location of this. So this file is sitting at this location, right? Okay, cool. Let me copy this. So this file is sitting at this location. Okay, super. I got the location of my file. Okay, so let me define the location because you need to tell your Java where that file is, right? String. Okay, I'll talk about this later. There is one shortcut. Okay, I'll not talk about it. String file location or file path is equals to just a moment. Hmm. Okay, cool. Let me, someone wants to join now. Hmm. Super. So now you know where is the location of this file, right? Let me define it. Okay, so this is the location of your file where your file is stored. Cool. So now you need to tell there is one class in Java that is used to access the files, that is nothing but file input stream. So nothing much to worry about that. So there is one thing in Java, it is already defined, that is nothing but that is used to access the files. Okay, so you need to give the location at which this file is present. First you are telling the location, and after that this class is used to, what is that, there is one class called file input stream. One second, what happened? Default. Okay, okay, this should be answered inside a method, right? So let me write this here at the rate of before method. Okay. Mm. Superb. Let me copy this. Mm. Super. So that was not inside a method. I am just writing inside a method. Okay. So I have defined the location where my file is present, and in order to access the files, right? In order to access the files in Java, there is a class called file input stream. So for that you need to give the location. Okay, file path, right? So where your file is present. Okay, you got the location and you have given the path. Now after that there is properties. Okay, properties, there is a method in Java. Again, it is part of your Java util class, so no need to go that much deep inside this because you'll be using this piece of code only for single time. Okay, so now you have created a class with the name called properties. Okay, a object. So now load in, this object into the properties. That's it. Prop dot load. Super. So these are only the simple lines of code that is used. Now see, what we are doing is we are giving the location at which my property file is present, and after that we are, in order to access this file, right, in order to access this file there is one class in Java that is nothing but file input stream. So that is used to access the location of that. So if you are a human being, you'll go to this location and open it up, right? For Java to understand the location, you can make use of this. Create a object for properties. Prop is equals to new properties, and inside that load this file input stream object. So this is the object that is used to access, right? So now load this object. Now very simple. Now whatever values you want, right? So this is like key value pair. Again, do you remember? Key 1 is equals to value 1. Key 2 is equals to value 2. Key 3 is equals to value 3. That's what I have written. This is one key and one value. One key and one value. So now if you want this URL, if you want this URL, what you need to do? just define a string URL is equals to, okay, properties. So now your properties object is loaded with this object, right? So that is used to access this properties dot get property of this thing, get property of this thing. Okay, that's it. Now this URL object will contain the total URL. Okay, if I print this out, so URL from the property file, so I am printing. So what I have done is very simple, guys. I have created a path. I am giving this, and in order to access this file, this is a piece of code that is needed for you. And in order to access this key or this key or this key, any key or key 1, key 2, key 3, there is a method called get property. So this is your property file. From this, if you want to get the value of any one of the key thing, then give that key name. So for this, I want QA underscore URL. So I have, what I have done is I am trying to access it by using a method called get property. Now after that, I am printing it. So let me try to run this. Let me check what happens. Mm, Superb. See, it is printing the, it is printing all the URLs. How many times it is printing? UAT, because just a second. It will be a bit clumsy. I'll make you understand if you aren't getting it. See, what actually happened was, just a moment, guys. So this is a before method, right? You need to remember all the older stuff. Okay, before every test case this will run, right? So let me do one thing. Let me remove few things. Hmm. So how many test cases are there here? Let me write only three. Hmm. Hmm. So for the ease of understanding, I'm just cutting short that. So before this test case, this piece of code will run. So what you are doing in this piece of code, you are getting the URL and printing it. So if you could see here, it is printing this URL. Okay, let me scroll up. See, it is printing URL from the property file. It is nothing but https flipkart underscore qa.com. Why it is printing that? Because it is reading the value of qa underscore URL and it is printing that. Now, for example, if you want this UAT URL, here what you will do is instead of this value, right, you will give the key of UAT URL. See, I have given UAT underscore URL. Now this time it should print, it should get the value of UAT environment. Let me run that. Okay. Okay. Let me check it out. Let me check whether it is superb, guys. See, this time I have two test cases and it is getting the UAT URL now. Okay. I have a kind of a solution for this. Okay. Instead of hard coding this thing, right, every time, what I will now do is just write driver dot get. Okay, get. Now let me use this keyword called URL. That's it. But this is a local variable, right? I need to declare it as global variable. What I need to do, I'll just write string URL, and this will become global. It is null value now. I should remove this. See, now the error is gone. So let me copy this code. Okay. Okay, superb. I can remove this piece of code, right? See, I can now remove this piece of code. If there are some hundreds of test cases also, okay, this is second one, this is third one. Similarly, there are some hundreds of test cases. This is again, I'm just blindly writing some test cases. Okay, now what was the problem previously you are facing? Every time you need to go and update. If there are 1000 test cases, 1000 locations, you need to go and update your URL. But now if your developer is telling, hey, the UAT URL got changed, you'll just go here and update the URL. So you'll just write underscore new. He's telling that it got updated to new. So you'll not change anything. You will not even touch your test cases. You will not even touch your test cases. All that you will be doing is you will go and update the URL here. Now he's telling that, hey team, I want you to run all these test cases in QA environment. Assume that. Previously, what you were doing, you need to go and update the URL every time. You should give underscore QA underscore QA every time. Again, tomorrow he's telling that run these test cases in UAT environment. Again, you need to go and update 1000 test cases. But today, we are overcoming that problem. What you'll do, you want in QA environment? When 1 second, I'll just update this piece of line. Just I'll give QA. Now it will go and read this QA URL and it will give this QA URL for all the test cases. And again, he's telling that, hey, can you run this in production environment? I'll just go and change this QA and I'll just give PROD. That's it. So that is how I can control the execution without updating my test cases or without touching my test cases. So that is the beauty of your property file. Okay, that is the beauty of your property file. So as we will be making progress towards the what is that excuse me guys, as we'll be making progress towards the test cases, right? We will be making use of this piece of code. Okay, how to read the property file and why we are using this property file and what is the importance of this property file, what will happen if you're not using the property file. So that is the significance of this. Okay, so instead of doing this, instead of hard coding the values, you can smartly use this piece of code. Okay, after writing what I'll do is I'll just write this method as well at the rate of after method, because every time I need to close my test case, right? Exit. Okay, let me import this. So driver dot quit, I'm not writing everywhere, right? I'll just write this driver dot quit, something like this. Okay, why again this driver is not working? Because it is local to everything, right? So you can declare it as global and you can use this piece of code. Okay, forget about it. Okay, I don't want to confuse you with too many things on a single day. So what was the problem we faced and how we overcome that? So previously we were writing the URL in the test case itself, right? So if there is any minor change in the URL, you need to go back and update each and every test case. That was creating a problem. And moreover, if your team is telling to run the test cases in QA environment or production environment or QA environment, it is difficult for you to go and update each and everything. Today, you have the total control how to run the test cases from the property file. Okay, hope you guys understood what is the problem statement and how we have overcome that. If not, I'll tell again with different example. Okay, everyone understood? Awesome. Now, there is again a problem, guys. See, your manager is telling, hey, team, uh, our application, not everyone will be using Chrome browser, right? So, few people will be using Chrome browser, and a few people will be using this newly Edge browser, and few people will be using Firefox browser. Today he will tell you to run in Chrome browser. Okay, what you will do? Again, you will go back. Again, what you need to do, instead of writing it as Chrome driver, right? You need to delete this and you need to write it as Firefox. So, for example, if he's telling run the test cases in Firefox, okay, same thing. Again, you need to go back and again you need to update. Again, you need to go back. Again, you need to update. Arey yaar, this is nonsense. Okay, this is creating lot of work for me. So, how to overcome this problem? Okay, let me think about it. So, shall I do one thing? This guy is telling me to run the test cases. A few times he's telling to run in Chrome driver, few times he's telling to run in Firefox. Today it is only 10 test cases, but in real time there will be some thousands of test cases. So let me think about it. So okay. So in our class we understood that there is something called property files. what can I do is I can create a keyword called browser, and if he is telling Chrome, I should make sure that this piece of code is executed. If he is telling Firefox, Firefox should get executed. If he is telling Edge, then Edge should be executed. How to overcome this? So let me do. So somehow or the other I have got the URL. Similarly, let me get the browser. Okay, string browser type. So different types of browser, right? Some browser type. Okay, so now let me do one thing. So this browser type is coming from the property file, right? So browser type dot property dot get property. So now browser type is Chrome. Now let me do one thing. If browser type dot equals ignore case Chrome. Why I'm telling ignore case, I'll tell you guys, because few people will write capital CHORME. Okay, few people will write just Chrome, something like that. So for that reason, what I'm telling, that ignore the case, just check the content. So the small letters slow na capital, so sorry, if even if it is in small letters or capital letters, don't bother about it. If the content is same, just match it out. So if your this thing is same, okay, now what you will be doing, okay, Copilot is very fast, let me turn off it. Okay, if the browser type is equals to Chrome, instead of writing it here, right, let me delete this. Okay, see how smartly we are playing. Let me delete this, let me delete this as well. So now driver object is global variable, right? So let me define that as global variable. Let me delete this. Okay, super. So let me write it as global variable, right? Web driver. Okay, you have created object called, but you are not giving the power for that. Now you are telling that if the browser type is nothing but you are getting the value from the browser. If the browser type is equals to Chrome, so this is a string, I'm telling that if it is Chrome, then tell that by so driver dot mm, by driver dot sorry, one second guys, driver is equals to new Chrome driver, that's it. Okay, if your if your browser type is equals to Chrome, then create a object with the Chrome driver. Or else, if he's telling that, else if your browser type dot equals ignore case, and here if someone is writing edge, here if someone is writing edge, edg edge, now create a object with driver is equals to, see, all that you are doing is web driver is equals to uh, new Chrome driver. If it is Chrome, if it is Edge, web driver is equals to new Edge driver. Okay. If it is, else if browser type dot equals ignore case. If someone is telling run that in Firefox, okay, tell him that driver is equals to new Firefox driver. That's it. Okay, but few of the people, what they'll give some spelling mistakes. So instead of Chrome they can give Chrome, or give just a test or something, wrong numbers, right? Wrong name. So in that case I am handling that error as well. Else, just to drop a message stating that please use only these keywords. So what are those? Chrome. Okay, next thing is Firefox, because you're telling that these are the only supported values. Okay, and Edge, if someone is giving wrong value here. So if it is Chrome, this piece of code will get executed. So you are telling that WebDriver is equals to new Chrome driver. If it is Edge here, so it is like WebDriver is equals to new Edge driver. If you are writing Firefox, then WebDriver is equals to new Firefox. So that is the beauty of your property files. See, again, if your manager is coming you and telling you to run in different tests, see previously how big our test case and how small we are making and how smartly we are handling that. See, so now it is just a two-line piece of code. Okay. Mm. Even if your manager is coming you and telling the different URL, hey, come on, give me any URL. It is just like half minute work for me. I'll just go to the property file and update. Now you want to run this in Chrome driver. Okay, I will not go and touch every test case. I'll not even look at my test case. I'll just tell run it in Chrome here. If you want to run this in Edge, I'll just give it as Edge. If you want to run it in Firefox, I'll just give Firefox here. I will not update my test cases. Okay, I will be making use of the property file. See, whatever you have learned is also automation testing. You can write your test cases in that way also. But what we are doing today is also automation testing via some small set of rules or small pieces of the property files. We are making use of the property files and we are making our work easier. See how simple your test case is. If the URL is getting updated, and if someone is telling you to run this in QA URL, so just copy this and give this QA URL. Okay, if someone is telling you to run in the Firefox browser or Chrome, just update this piece of code. Automatically your work will be done. Okay, so let me do one thing. So let me write, you can write the actual test case inside this, but the base idea of today's class was to make you understand what is the significance of the property file and what how it is helping us, if you have understood that, I am really happy for that. Just give me a thumbs up if you understood. So with property file and without property file, how hard it is for us to understand. Okay, cool, awesome guys, thank you so much everyone. Now quickly write the same test case what I have written. Okay, so it's going forward, it will be bit clumsy, bit tough, but that is what makes you stronger. I repeat, that is what makes you stronger. If you want, I can skip this piece of code and I can tell you that we're done, but I'm not doing that. Reason being, in real time, for sure, you take any framework, there will be something called property file. Okay, so they will be controlling the execution from the property file. If you want some extra property, like you can add your manager is telling that, hey, implicit wait should be 30 seconds. Tomorrow he's coming and telling that, hey, can you please update it to 40 seconds? And again give this explicit wait, short wait, or many things will come into picture as we progress. Okay, so this is the baseline for all the upcoming sessions. If you have not understood, I'll highlight it again. If yes, I'm really happy you got. So hope we understood what is the problem and how we have overcome the problem. Very good, thumbs up from everyone if you understood. Very good everyone, awesome guys, I really appreciate. Chalo, so create a folder called resources, create a file called properties first. Okay, how to get the, see, first listen to me. Create a folder called resources, under that create a file called property file, and inside that give this properties. Okay, qa url, uat url, like that. Okay, okay, create that resources and after that write this piece of code. Okay, that is readily available for you. Chalo, cool, start off. I'll stop the recording, meanwhile you guys I'll be there in the call. You guys just start writing.